What's up guys, BOTCG here, and I'm doing an updated deck profile to my BLANGDMIRE list. This deck actually changed quite a lot. It was quite the learning curve for me personally. I don't know, maybe maybe it's because I haven't played as much Vanguard as I probably should in a while. So when I hopped in on BLANGDMIRE in set 2, man, I was making so many mistakes. I was learning, every match I basically became a better BLANGDMIRE player. But I went through a lot of trials and tribulations with this deck. I wasn't exactly happy with any exact list. But this is the closest I've gotten to personally to being content with the BLANGDMIRE list, until further support, of course. Nothing to say. We're still just playing the normal BLANGDMIRE line. I'm gonna go over your main engine cards first, and then I'm gonna go over the non-engine and basically why we're playing those non-engine pieces. So 3 copies of Persona Ride, 4 copies of Shadow Strike Colossus, 4 copies of Zamood. So this is a soft Zamood list because this is the only card I have in the deck currently that cares about energy blasting. Because I know a lot of people are running the cyclers in the energy cyclers in their BLANGDMIRE lists. I tried it. I didn't like it because I never had energy to do more than 1 Zamood a turn. I want to do at least doubles. I want to have the ability to do double Zamood in a turn, or at least do Zamood once, and not have to pick and choose between the energy cycler or doing Zamood's effect. So I don't know. Maybe it's just Dark States, but the experience I've currently had with grinding these Dark States decks one at a time is, more often than not, if you want to make your deck more powerful / more consistent, you have to go deeper into the engine pieces versus the non-engine pieces. And I don't know, maybe that doesn't ring true for every deck, hashtag Caterpile, but at least for Dark States and for BLANGDMIRE, in my personal opinion, you want to go harder on Zamood just because it makes your divine skill turns even scarier, in my personal opinion. 4 copies of Evoke Alchemist, that's your restand enabler. We're only playing 2 copies of Steam Artist Arwen. I still do like this card in this deck. I didn't like it at multiple copies, but it's still a very good enabler to feed, selectively feed your soul, and to, basically it cycles itself off and makes it, if your opponent wants to ride or stride on the next turn, they have to discard a card, which is really nice. It's just a really nice effect. And then for the last of our pseudo-engine pieces, we're playing 2 copies of Mind Hacker. Now, I actually really, in my playtesting, multiple Mind Hackers didn't feel like they were doing much besides being a 13k booster, but I found myself wanting more 13k boosters for Zamood, for the other grade 2s that I play, a 13k booster behind Shattersteam Colossus makes 36 by itself without Persona Ride, activating Shattersteam Colossus's ability. So, yeah, I really liked the extra Mind Hackers. I really wish I did have another go at it with locals. I just got really burnt out after work that one Tuesday that I was going to playtest this list, or I was going to playtest a list similar to this list, and I just ended up not going, which is very unfortunate. But it's time to move on. We're moving on to Almagestar, which I wouldn't consider bigger and better things, but it is a stark contrast to the BLANGDMIRE list, at least. So when the profile and match videos do come out, I do very much encourage you to give those a watch. Those are certainly a very treat, because it's a very different Dark States deck to what the norm Dark States decks are doing right now, in my personal opinion. Moving on to our non-engine pieces, we're playing 1 copy of the Chalice versus Angel Ladder. This deck does care about Persona Ride quite a bit. It's like the inverse of Raziel, where Raziel also cares about Persona Ride quite a bit. So just having the extra Persona Ride has come up multiple times. 3 copies of Cage of the Furious Star. I was a big proponent of 4 copies of this for the longest time, because it was the only way you could at least when set 2 first came out, it was the only way that you can toolbox from your soul, because you had so much selective soul charging. Now with Festival Booster, we have other ways of toolboxing from our soul, so I was able to cut this down to bump up Mind Hacker to 2, and I cut 2 of these, put Mind Hacker to 2, and I was able to play more non-engine pieces. Like another good non-engine piece we play is Falcrikia. I butchered that name. Servant, the maid chick. We play the maid chick because she's really well with Shattered Colossus. When you discard Shattered Colossus, because she allows you to get Shattered Colossus's draw effect from the drop zone, which normally you wouldn't be able to do that. But and she's a really good beater. So those are the reasons why you do play this, even though you'll never get the second effect off because you're not a grade 4 deck. But that first ability is just very strong. The reason that I'm playing this at 3, I think I did have it at 4 for a time, and then I cut it down to 3, and 3 felt like that sweet spot for me personally, because it only the effect only procs if it attacks a grade 3 or greater unit card. And then next of our non-engine pieces, this I would say this. I haven't personally seen this in Blangmire lists. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I've noticed while playing Blangmire, this deck, outside of the ride line, this deck has 0 early game unless you want to hard commit pieces that give you no value until you get to turn 3. So what was a good way to rectify that? Well, play 4 copies of the new Darkseid / Dragon Empire Dual Nation card. Man, this Dual Nation card is so sick. So first off, this deck is kind of Counterblast heavy, but even if you don't use its Counterblast effect, you'll always get the Soul Charge and +5. The only thing it cares about is that this has to be from hand, which is kind of unfortunate because you can't Superior Call this off of Cage of the Furious Star. So this is only from hand, but it also lets you toolbox your soul, and it gives you access to more spot removal in the early, and it gives you access to toolbox in the early game, which lets you generate another rear guard, which could be a potential attacker or booster, and it's 15 by itself in the early game. So I felt like this just fixed the kind of like early game conundrum that my personal Blangmire list was having, since I am not running the energy cycle cards. 3 DPGs, nothing to talk about there. 1 Elementaria. This can be either or Elementaria. I feel like it's basically up to preference at this point. There's a good amount of decks that this one hits, and then there's a good amount of decks that the other Elementaria hits. But both hit Stride deck sets no matter what. This one hits Stride deck sets a little bit better because they'll always have the crest, so this will always be free. But they'll both hit Stride deck sets no matter what. And then moving on to the triggers, we actually changed the over. Now I was rocking the Dark States over trigger for a while, just because I loved that extra crit on top of the Divine skill. And then this over trigger came out, and I'm like, that is just perfect for your Divine skill turn. So you do Blangmire's Divine skill turn, and if you check this, it's gonna retire all of their Guardian. It's gonna draw you a couple cards first, depending on how many open rearguard circles they have, and you do have removal in Blangmire itself, so you'll always at least draw 1 card, and then it's gonna wipe their board. Whatever's left of their board, it's gonna wipe it, but more importantly, it's gonna wipe their Guardians. And more often than not, on a Blangmire turn, when I do the Divine skill, they always hard guard Blangmire. And this, being able to wipe away all the Guardians, and then I can give that plus 100 million to the Zamood, and have that 2 crit still go through, is very strong in my opinion. It's very offensive and very defensive at the same time, which I feel like that's the type of versatility that I'm looking for in my Blangmire list. Now, of course, I'm talking about a one-off situation of you check it on your Divine's turn. That's like the best case scenario, you checking it on your Divine's turn. But if you don't check it on your Divine's turn, it's still really good. But that's the main reason why I'm playing it. Next features, playing 3 fronts. You go through the deck very fast in this deck, kind of like the Almagestar deck, but different because most of the cards are going to soul or hand. But yeah, we want to play fronts over draws, especially in this format. I feel like if you can afford to, you just kind of have to play fronts. It's a very shield intensive format in terms of you have a lot of decks that ask a lot of shield from you, and there's not that much shield in standard right now. Even with like buffing of certain defensive mechanics, there's still just not enough shield in standard right now, in my personal opinion. 4 into soul crits. This has come up once in a blue moon. Turns a 26k column into a 28k column, 21 to 23, vice versa. Better to need them and not have them than to have them and not need them. 4 vanilla crits. Nothing much to say here. Yeah, this is definitely a way shorter deck profile than the Almagestar deck when I do post that. 2 vanilla heals, and then 2 of the effect if it attacked two or more times this turn heal, which I'm very on the fence about this card because I feel like this does hit a lot of decks, but at the same time there's a lot of decks that do have a restandard, to whereas this by itself is just not enough that I found in my my brief testing with it. I'm gonna play around with this and maybe the other one a little bit more, but I haven't found it to make such a great impact to where it's like, man, if I didn't have this, my bacon was cooked. But yeah, this is my updated BLANGDMIRE deck list, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. We're going to have more POV grind videos in the future. I believe after Almagestar, which I'm going to give Almagestar at least 1 more week, if not 2, because I only have a 2-round locals VOD currently. So we are definitely going to like hit the bag with that one quite a bit. But after that one, I will be moving on to either Lasardia or the Direful Doll deck. It depends how much I want to go hard into the paint on the Dark States grind, because you guys know I'm a fanatic for this shit, man. But anyways, y'all have a great night. Later.